lot of storylines came out of this weekend. This weekend offered so much in that there was upsets. There was title changes. There was the unexpected. I mean, even Nate Diaz, who was a fan favorite, and the whole building was there to see him. Right there in California, I mean, that place went crazy. They were booing Pettis. They were cheering Nate. Everything that you would imagine for a mega fight. But Diaz wasn't supposed to go over there and whip Pettis. I mean, no matter how much you were happy to see Nate back and how much you were cheering for him, he had been out for 3 years. Pettis had been very busy. Pettis is a former world champion. He's been on the cover of the Wheaties box. I mean, not for nothing. This is still Anthony Pettis. Nate Diaz had one of these performances. I'm not sure I've ever seen him look better. I would go as far as to say I have never seen him look better. And every now and then, guys, and it's a very blue moon, right? A guy will take time off and get better. And not only does his body recover, it's not the body near as much as it is the mind. You come in with a clear head. You come in with 3 years of driving around and telling yourself how good you are, going to the gym and winning every day. And a lot of that is because you're not going with as hard of guys. You don't have the same stress. You're not training at the same levels. But either way, you're getting a positive result. You're liking that result. And now you're building your confidence because of it. It's a very rare thing. But it does happen sometimes. And I think that it happened with Nate Diaz. Guys, right after the card, I was able to speak with Georges St-Pierre. George said a number of things that I think are very relevant to where I would like to go with this show today. So let's take a moment. I want to play this. I want you guys to be able to hear what Georges St-Pierre said. Is the Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier, is that just gone? Is that talk behind us?
As a fan, I would love to see that fight. Maybe in heavyweight, I think Daniel Cormier looked better in heavyweight division. I think it's his weight class, you know. John is a big guy. I don't know how much he weighs off season, but as a fan, I would have loved to see that this fight as a heavyweight. But in the light heavyweight, I think I don't want to see it because the book is closed. It's Jon Jones beat Cormier in light heavyweight, but in the heavyweight, that would be interesting. I would love to see it.
But do you think we can get the fight? I mean, I guess here's what I'm asking: do you think Jon Jones would come up to heavyweight for a non-title fight?
I don't think he will do, except if the pay. Maybe the only thing he could, because legacy-wise, he has nothing really to win because he beat Cormier. And if he goes up, it would be like a trophy, but it would not be a title shot. If Cormier would have won the title, now it would have been a different situation. But I think if it would be for money and legacy, if you want to do it. Like I said, if Cormier would have won the title, now Jones would have probably consider it more. You know what I mean? Because it would have been a title and a champ thing in it as well. So I think it would, you know what I mean? It would be more, it would be a better scenario for him.
All right, George, I appreciate that very much, but you know good and well, it would be irresponsible of me to let you go without just asking. Come on, Khabib. Khabib's right around the corner. I know there's been talk about that. I got to ask you, though, I mean, how realistic is that if Khabib got the win over Poirier and your phone rings? Is that the one to motivate you?
Listen, Chael. You said to me, how realistic is that? And the real question is how realistic that was. It was. We worked very hard to try to make it. My agent knocked at the door. We asked many times, and the UFC was categorically didn't want to do it. My goal was to be the first to become champ. That's what I wanted to do. Unfortunately, it fell. And after we even tried to go to ask if we could do it in a catch weight, you know, and the UFC didn't want to do it. They had other plan. I know Khabib wanted the fans. I think the fans love the idea of that fight. And in a way, it's a little bit unfair for Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson been there and he deserved the title shot. You know what I mean? But it's a sport that you need to be selfish and do the best that you know that you can do for yourself. But now it's over. The train. I missed the train. The train is gone, and I don't know, but I don't think it will happen.
All right, guys. Now, I think there was a few gems there, but one of the big ones that I'm hoping that you picked up on was George giving us some insight as to where things stand between him and Khabib. It sounds like they stand absolutely nowhere, and I believe that to be true. And as much as you would like to see that fight, if I was just to remind you guys of your own emotions and your own feelings a year ago, when George tried to make that fight, it's however you feel about it right now, times 3, right? I mean, the timing matters in these things. Remember how big Holyfield versus Tyson was, right? Okay, well, if I told you that Holyfield and Tyson are going to fight each other in 2 months, are any of you excited? No, timing matters. Timing matters. But there's a message here. Okay, let me tie these dots together. So, they don't want George to come in. They didn't want George to fight Khabib. Why, though? Why becomes the question? Because they were trying to protect Khabib? No, that isn't what happened. It may have sounded like that listening to our interview, but no, that isn't why. For whatever reason, and it is a reason I have to admit I don't fully understand or agree with, a cardinal sin with leadership at the UFC is you do not walk away from a belt. That will be looked at as a personal insult, in addition to the domino effect that it has on the industry. But they do not like that. To prove that point, they turned down St-Pierre versus Khabib. Okay? When St-Pierre went up to 185 pounds, beat Bisping, and walked away. That was so irritating, so bothersome. They would not give him a chance to go and do that with Khabib, even though that could have been record business. Who knows how good a business, but it might have been record setting. Would have been huge. I think we can all agree to that. They said, no, we're just not looking for guys on one-offs to come into a division. It's a very selfish move. You're looking to collect hardware. We get it. And you will be given the opportunity under the new policies to collect that hardware. We just have to have an agreement that either you come in and you win a fight before you do it, so that we know that you're going to stick around and go do the fight that you want, or you just have to give us your word that you will stay and defend. That's all we need. But we're not looking for one-offs. Okay, fine. Just accept that as reality for whatever reason, but that is our reality, and now we have proof of it. We know that this is the policy. We know this is the mindset because George was told no. In MMA, you don't tell George St-Pierre no. George was told no for the first and only time in his life. But there's a message and it ties in. It ties into this last weekend because it comes down to Daniel Cormier and Stipe. Now, guys, I have not spoke to Daniel about this, but I've known Daniel 20 years. To share my own opinion that I am very confident that I'm right in, Daniel is going to fight again. To also share my opinion that I am very confident in, Daniel's only going to fight one more time. Daniel to come and fight John Jones, that conversation is all but dead. That simply will not happen. The one thing that needed to happen within that contest was it needed to be at heavyweight. John needed to be able to come in, do this whole champ thing. Daniel going down to 205. We needed a new piece to the story. Because we've already seen a fight at 205 twice. We need a new piece. Changing the weight class would have been very, very relevant. It would have worked. Would have been a great story. Would have changed the outcome of that fight. It would have worked. But it needed to be at heavyweight. Well, you're not going to get John up to heavyweight just to fight Daniel just because there's no title on the line. Okay, great. The point that I'm making, John is out. John's now on third base wearing a catcher's mitt looking like a fool. Daniel has a true trilogy should he take it, which is Stipe. A true trilogy. I keep hearing that Jones versus DC was going to be a trilogy fight. It is in the sense that it would be a third fight, but a trilogy under the colloquial meaning of this to guys in the fight business mean that you split in the first two. You had 2 fights. This guy won. Now the other guy won. We got to go to number 3, make it a best of 3 series to figure out who better. Okay. Well, that's now what he has the opportunity to do with Stipe. He has the opportunity to win a world championship. He has the opportunity, and I'm quoting him, in his own words, to right a wrong. But he also only has 1 fight left. I sincerely do believe that. And I sincerely do believe that would have been against John Jones. Regardless of what was said, Daniel would have done that fight. But that would have still been his last fight. He would have been done. Now that he's in this situation, and you have a true trilogy, that would be the fight to make. That is the fight that people want to see. Stipe himself could benefit from a prize fighting standpoint the most from that fight. I think you could get all parties to agree. Well, not so fast. There's one problem. If that is in fact Daniel's last fight, it is just very uncommon that the promoter will allow your last fight to be a title fight unless you're the one that showed up with the belt. If you're the one that showed up with the belt and you want to defend and you want to walk away on top, it's a little different than coming as a contender openly saying, I want one last fight and I want it against this guy. I want the trilogy. I want to right the wrong. I want to grab the belt and then I want to ride off in the sunset for reasons that we just have to accept. That is not something that leadership is looking for over there. And we have evidence of that because George St-Pierre just told us it happened to him. If it happened to George, it can happen to anybody, right? I think we've established that point over and over again. So what do? Well, there's a few things you could do. Look, there's also a rule in fighting. If a younger fighter beats an older fighter and they rematch, the younger fighter will beat the older fighter again, only quicker. That is a rule in fighting. A bankable rule if you ever want to start handicapping these things. That's how you know who to bet in the rematch. This one's a little bit different, though, because the older fighter got the jump on the younger fighter already once. And it wasn't all that long ago. It was just last year. So the story works. I would encourage, perhaps, that Daniel would need to come in with a different attitude. Perhaps. Now, this isn't quite the same as George exactly. Boy, they're identical, but they're not exact. In that, George was looking to change divisions and run rack shot and leave with all the hardware. This is just Daniel's division. That's just where he is. He's heavyweight. He's a heavyweight. He's in his own division. It's a fight where he could walk away right now, hold his head high, achieve some of the greatest heights in the history of the sport. Fine. But if he did want to come back for one more, I would encourage, even though history says otherwise, I would encourage that be looked at and he be given the opportunity to do it. It is okay, in my opinion, for a guy to win hardware and walk away from it. It doesn't upset the boys in the back. In fact, now 2 guys in the back get an opportunity to go fight for a belt as opposed to 1. The boys don't mind. I don't think that the fans mind. I think that is a misconception. I think that what George St-Pierre did was history making. I thought he did it very professionally when he grabbed the belt against Bisping and gave it up 8 days later. He had the right to sit on that belt for 12 months. Hold up the division, tout it around, do photos with it, get sponsors, get opportunities, take a whole bunch of money without ever going to work, and then give it up. Come up with a story. Oh, my back hurts, my shoulders. Oh, I just need a little bit more time. Guys do it all the time. George took 8 days, said, you know what, I'm not going to defend this thing, get on with it. It was very honorable how he did it, and I don't think he was ever given credit for it. But as you tie this together to the current situation and state of the heavyweight division, I think that it is very relevant. I think that it is relevant that could be the one thing that holds up John Jones. I apologize, Daniel Cormier. Daniel Cormier versus Stipe. So who's Stipe going to fight if not Daniel Cormier? Right, I mean, do you see the problem? The heavyweight division is in a bit of a mess right now. But the best guys in the world simply aren't doing it. Verdum is not doing it right now. Brock Lesnar is not doing it and not ever going to do it. But you see the point. Stipe already fought Ngannou. Derek Lewis just got beat. Junior Dos Santos, Ivanov. I mean, there's just a lot of guys, but it's not real clear. It is really clear from a competitive nature, but also from a fan and media nature, to do Stipe versus DC Part 3. But there is one thing blocking it, which is if it is DC's last fight, he could run into the same problem that George did. Let's see how that all plays out.